Here's what Redditors have to say in the subreddit r/just no mother-in-laws. Mil tries to manipulate me into telling her I'm pregnant. Plot twist, I'm not. Rant. Background, my DH and I have been married for a year, together for 6. He comes from a large family, as his mother is a reformed Catholic. He is the baby of 7, and his parents have made it clear they want nothing more than a grandchild from their youngest. How many grandkids do they have? 19. Yes, 19 existing grandchildren. Throughout the years, my Mil has made many comments about how we need to get a move on, or I'll have to freeze my eggs. I was told this at 26, and every holiday she gets me in front of everyone, and asks if I have an announcement to make. My favorite was last Thanksgiving, when I took a swig of the beer I was holding, and said yes I do. I made a 4.0 this semester. It's annoying, but I always just told myself that she was small-minded, and felt more sorry for her than anything. Recently I was visiting my in-laws and my Mil, and I were chatting about my niece's upcoming baby shower. Mil told me that she'd had a surprise for me, but it had been spoiled. Concerned, I asked about it. Mil, after your wedding, you went on such an exotic honeymoon I was sure you'd come back pregnant. I wanted to make you a themed baby blanket, so I shopped for fabric as soon as we got home from the wedding. Me, Mil, that's very sweet, but you knew we weren't planning on kids while I'm in school. I'm in a highly competitive and rigorous grad school program. Mil, I figured you'd change your mind after you got pregnant. You won't have time for work anyways when raising a family. Me, silence. I've busted my ass to get in this program and it's encompassed my entire attention since I started it, which I knew about and our families knew about. I would never drop out because I changed my mind. Mil. Anyway, once I finished the quilt I waited for news, but never heard anything from you. So I figured I'd give it to niece instead. I bet she'd appreciate it. Unless you have something to tell me. She pulls out this beautiful baby quilt covered in lions and giraffes. It was supposedly *THEMED* for my honeymoon destination. We went to Thailand and Australia. Also, who wants a blanket that reminds their parents of the place they got knocked up? So she's staring at me, waiting. My Sil was standing there with her mouth open. Edit. Wow. I definitely did not expect so much feedback. I've gotten some hilarious responses, some responsible ones, and of course, some ones that align with my inner itch, who say we've decided to stay child-free forever, and dance upon to corpses of our enemies. I've gotten a ton of messages about birth control, so I decided to answer them in mass. She has vertigo and wouldn't walk up the stairs to our loft bedroom if I put her grandkid up there. Also, you can't exactly be sneaky in the loft, as the kitchen/dining is just below it, and you hear every step. They learned the hard way to never come over unannounced. I walk around naked. This makes her uncomfortable. We also live just far enough away that they wouldn't spontaneously decide to pop by. Even then, they don't have a key. This story happened around May. I just never thought to retell it. I graduated last month, and I'm actually no longer on birth control, so there's nothing to tamper with except her son's ex-life. Even if we are trying, it's none of her goddamn business, especially since she's been so itty. Now, which hole does it go in again? DH finally realizes how annoying JNMIL's phone calls are. I know this is a short post, but I'm pretty proud of my DH's progress. For the past few weeks, since he's been home, we have been trying to get into routine. Our weeks are very busy, and we struggle to have time to call home. Though we have made it a priority to call Phil due to his illness. DH has talked to JNMIL a couple of times, but those calls have been filled with how sad she is and begging for money. I could tell DH was getting annoyed, but he kept trying to appease her. She also made it a point to suck up to me on every call. Or, at least the ones I was present for. I'd low-key roll my eyes every time, because it was obvious, and I wasn't having it. I knew it was a show for DH to see that she's so Nike to me. But, outside of the calls, she ignores the very few messages I do send to keep the peace. It's an exhausting cycle. Yesterday, however, she calls at 8 PM while we are watching a movie. I look over at husband, and he reaches over to grab his phone. I pause the movie, fully expecting him to answer and let her drone on about herself as usual. But then, he just puts the phone on mute and puts it back. I was shocked and asked why he didn't answer. He said he didn't want to deal with her. Needless to say, it was a refreshing change from the passive aggressive behavior she'd been showing. I'd say it's a small win. I thought things were going well after Lo was born, but Mil has already started boundary stomping. This is kind of a JNMIL and JNSO story. I had my baby girl a month ago and was so surprised by how Mil seemed to be trying her best to follow the boundaries we set in place. But now looking back at it, it's most likely because she wasn't around Lo very much until recently. She had just seen her for a few minutes at a time until the other day when she came to our house for a couple hours. Lo started fussing a little bit not very long after I had nursed. I knew she was probably gassy by the way she was acting and was trying to bicycle her legs. Mil says, "Don't you have gas drops or something?" I said yeah, but she just started fussing then. So jumps right in not even knowing what gas drops are or anything and says, "Yeah, why don't you give her some?" I ignored him because I was starting to get irritated, and then his mom says to Lo, "Why doesn't your mommy give you the medicine to make you feel better?" I was so livid. I shot her the dirtiest look I could muster and said, "If it's bothering you guys that much, I'll take her to the bedroom," and left. After she left, I told So to never do that to me again. There's a reason I do what I do. I would never want my baby to be in pain, but I'm also not going to do what his mom does, which is look for the fastest, easiest solution. I told him that when he automatically jumps on board with what she says concerning our child, he's reinforcing her belief that she has a say. So infuriating. Still fuming even though he said he wouldn't do it anymore. Mil ruins hundreds of dollars in work uniforms. Advice wanted. The in-laws left a few hours ago after 2 days of absolute hell. Before leaving, Mil took almost every single one of his 6 military uniforms and put them in the wash. There's a very specific way to wash these uniforms to make them last, which she didn't do. She also didn't take off any Velcro patches or took out any pens. This means that when she moved the uniforms from the wash to dryer, she got ink stains all over them. She ruined 5 pairs of military ops, the camo looking uniforms for the STID, and my husband is furious. He hasn't gotten his allowance, $500, for new uniforms yet and got royally screwed over by Mil. Husband has told her before to not touch his uniforms. This time she waited until he wasn't in the room so she could wash them. I've been trying to get husband to put up boundaries because no one listens to me because of this constant infantilization issue from his family. Every time she visits, no matter how clean or dirty the house is, she has to clean it. And I think this might be the final straw. They asked earlier if we were doing anything for Thanksgiving. This could possibly be the first year we might have a Thanksgiving together as a married couple, but there's also a chance he's going to be in field training for a month and in praying to various Pokemon gods that he's going to tell them no because they won't respect him and the rules of the house, like no dogs. The rule I put down that coincidentally never gets listened to. Any tips for good old jello spine husband? I've been egging him on to tell them when they get home that has putting them in timeout for a specific amount of time and to not waver. But I think has scared since has never rebelled against them before. When JNM painted my kitchen, no advice wanted. This is an old story, but people in my family say that I should be grateful that she was willing to help. So my husband and I closed on our house 2 months after we got married. We had been living with my parents for about 3 months because our lease on our apartment was up 3 weeks before our wedding. Our real estate agent had to push the mortgage company to close because I was leaving for an event in Toronto that weekend, and the mortgage broker had lost our paperwork multiple times in the 4 months since we had put an offer in. Anyway, the day we got the keys, my parents took us out to dinner to celebrate, and then my mom drove us to Home Depot to get new locks and some paint and general new house things. As we're shopping, I mentioned that eventually I wanted to get new kitchen cabinets, as I prefer white cabinets to the brown, forks wood grain ones that came with the house. I picked out a cream bordering on yellow color for my kitchen. because it matched some kitchen decor I already had, and I thought it would look nice with the brown cabinets. My husband did not pay attention to this because he didn't care. This is important later. We dropped the stuff off at the house and go back to my parents' place because I needed to pack to go to Toronto. I said that we could paint the house when I got back. My mom offered to help my husband paint while I was gone. I said okay because I was a sweet, naive 26Y/0 who didn't realize that my mom doesn't listen. The next day I left for Toronto, which is about 3.5 hours from my house. Now this is back in the day when roaming charges were huge. I turned off my cell phone because I didn't want to get a surprise phone bill. I wasn't worried, so I partied and had a great time with my friends. Side story, I got so wasted that I took my shirt off in the hotel lobby and it was awesome. On my way back on the following Monday, as soon as I crossed the border, I turned my phone on. I have several voicemails. I listened to them. There's one from my mom. Mom, Matilda Jane May, the cream color you picked out for your kitchen doesn't match your white cabinets. What about red? Me, looks into the camera, like I'm on The Office. At that point, I don't even go to my house. I drive straight to my parents and ask my mom if she painted my kitchen red. Mom, yay. The color you picked didn't match the white cabinets. Me, I didn't have white cabinets. Mom, we painted them. Me, I didn't want a red kitchen or white cabinets right now. I don't even like the color red. Mom, tears up red was your grandpa's favorite color. My grandfather had passed 3 years prior. Me, fine. I go to my house, walk in and there is my kitchen that went from having ugly 1970s hardboard paneling to having red painted ugly 1970s hardboard paneling. Not only that, but white chair molding was going around half the room. The top half was red and the bottom half was black. So now, if I wanted to change it, I would have to tear down the paneling, which doesn't even have drywall behind it, or prime out of it. Also, she had my uncles cut the inside corner molding for the ceiling and some of the cuts were straight and some were mitered. I asked her about this, and she said I know, but they had already put it up, and I felt bad to ask them to take it down to do it over. I asked everyone to leave and cried. My husband and I fought about it because he didn't pay attention and thought that the paint he was using on his gaming area was extra paint and not my carefully picked kitchen paint. She also bought living room furniture from a yard sale and put it in my living room. It had spider eggs in it